you play me for a while. Play me till the sun rises. Play me like a violin.
Hey guys, it's TheAnimaniac here. I'm starting a new section for my channel. It's going to be called Hot Pocket Topics. I'm going to be talking about hot button issues that are going on around the world. Issues that people usually don't like to discuss because they're really sensitive or they're pretty afraid to talk about it worried about repercussions. I really don't give a shit about what people think about me, so I'm going to talk about it anyways. As you can see, I got a bunch of cute little pictures in the background. I know people are probably going to make fun of me saying that they're all my drawings, but no, it was done by my 6-year-old daughter. But yeah, let's get right into it. So, first issue I'm going to be talking about today is Parenting After Separation and Divorce, a program that's available in my area, and why it's important that people should look into this program. So, first off, the reason why I want to talk about this issue today is because earlier today on my Facebook, I got into a confrontation with someone over this type of issue. What had happened was she had recently split up with her boyfriend, and I guess emotions are still kind of intense. There's a lot of resentment, but she's been posting a lot of statuses on Facebook saying he's such a deadbeat and she wishes that she had her kid with someone else and stuff like that. And they just kind of got to me, and I had to say something, right? Like, she doesn't realize how much these statuses are not only affecting the dad, but they're also going to affect the child in the long run. He might not be able to read it now, he might not be able to understand it now, but in the future when he grows up, he will. And these are going to mess with him. Every time you call your baby daddy or your baby mommy, I'm not trying to distinguish one between the other, like, we're both bad for it, right? We both got to work on this issue. But every time you do that, you're pretty much calling your child half that as well too. Because you got to remember, as much as you may hate the other person you created this child with, that child that you create is half of that person, and nothing you can do can change that. And that was one thing that really bugged me about this incident earlier, was I tried to explain this to the girl, and she straight up told me that she wished she could take away his DNA and just create a child with her own DNA. Now, not only is this laughable and biologically impossible to do, a woman cannot create a baby on her own. It takes a sperm and to fertilize the egg and create a zygote and a blastocyst or whatever that grows into a fetus, right? So you just can't do it. You're gonna need some sperm or some sort of other DNA to create this baby. And the fact is, you've already done it. So what you're pretty much saying is that you wish you didn't have this kid, and that you could have another one with someone else. And I'm really glad that her child's not young enough to understand or hear when she says this, because that is just disgusting, right? This child is its own unique person. Without that father's DNA, you wouldn't have that child. You would have a totally different person who wouldn't be this one that you created. So, enough on the issue. Let's get into the program here I want to talk about. This program is free for people living in Saskatchewan, and it's also mandatory. If you're going to go with any custody court or child support or anything like that, the judge is pretty much going to recommend that both parties take this course. So, the benefits of this course are pretty straightforward. They want what the judge would want when you go to court. And that's basically what this program is. It's pretty much to get ready for custody court. Because the judge is tired of people coming to court and doing this he said, she said, she's a bad guy, he's a bad guy, I want the kid all the time type of shit. Like, they hear it all the time and they're sick of it. The only thing that judge cares about when you get into that courtroom is the best interest of that child. And the best way for him to give the best interest of the child is to try and get as much time with both parents as possible, unless there's some sort of issue that's going to harm the child more than it would help the child. It's also to increase people's understandings, because a lot of people don't realize the harm that they're doing. They may be taking all this anger out on the dad or the mom that they used to be involved with, but really, in the long run, the one that's getting hurt the most is the child. they're going to be the ones growing up wondering why this family split up, and they're going to put a lot of the blame on themselves, right? And that's not good. We don't need to be adding any extra of this other drama and bullshit to this kid's life when they're already going to be kind of confused on what's going on. And these guys are nonpartisan, right? It's not like they're going to side with the mother. They're not going to side with the father. They're going to sit in the middle and try and resolve the conflict, right? Because they don't care who wins. That's not what this is about. They want the child to win in the end. And the only way they can do that is if the parents put away their differences and learn to co-parent, which is the best possible outcome in this type of situation. And this is also supposed to reduce the matters that do go to court, right? Because if they can resolve this before they go to court, it opens up the court systems for more important cases, right? There's 2 different sessions you can do. There's a 1 6-hour session, which is the one I did. It's an all-day course. Or you can split it up into 3-hour sessions. And the topics they cover are the stages of separation and divorce, options for resolving it, minus court. Like, they want to try and avoid court as much as possible because it's very costly on the taxpayer, and it clogs up systems that for other more important cases, right? And they talk about the children's reactions and how the child develops through this type of situation. And it really opened my eyes a lot because I've personally taken this course. I completed it in December 10th, 2018, which was last year. Sorry. And yeah, the certificate's valid for 2 years after you complete the course. If it expires, you don't have to take the course again unless you go through some sort of other dispute or separation, or it's a court order mandate from the judge himself. So yeah, anyone is eligible to take this course if they want more info on the session. People that aren't required to it are ones that have a certificate already saying that they've done it, or if they get a court order saying that they're exempt from it, or if all parties certify in writing that the agreement has been resolved without going through this process. There's many different ways to apply. It's offered all over Saskatchewan. I'm more than sure that it's offered in other provinces as well too in Canada. I don't know if it's going to cost anything in other provinces. I know for sure in Saskatchewan it's a completely 100% free program. It did not cost me a dime to take. It's offered in 11 different centers in Saskatchewan: Estevan, La Ronge, Meadow Lake, Moose Jaw, North Battleford, Regina, Prince Albert, Saskatoon, Swift Current, Weyburn, and Yorkton. You can apply either through the Regina area or the Saskatoon area, depending on where you're located in the province. They have a phone number, a toll-free number, and email that you can contact. And this is the important information here. Like, if you're going through custody court and you don't do this course, it's going to be bad for you in the long run, because the judge doesn't have to listen to anything you say. If you're not willing to put in the work to show that you want to be in this kid's life and take this course and that you actually care about the best interest of the child, he's not going to give a shit what you say. He can refuse to make any submissions on your part, on your application or at the trial, and he can order you to attend this program by force, by court order, and then adjourn your custody battle until you've completed the course. So the best thing to do is, as soon as you separate from the mother or the father, is to sign up for this course on your own, of your own accord. If you do it without the court order, it just looks that much better when you stand in front of the judge. He goes, oh, okay, well, this guy's a mature person who has gotten past the conflict and just wants to resolve the issue and look out for the best interests of the child, which is what he's going to look out for too. He'll be listening to your side a lot more, and he'll actually want to hear what you have to say. So I really encourage anyone going through custody battles or child support or anything like that they look into this course and that they take it. It's free. Like, it's 1 6-hour, it's 1 day of your life, and you learn so much. It's such a great experience. Me taking it myself personally, I found it very helpful. I used to be kind of vindictive towards the mother myself. I didn't understand that this was actually hurting the child, and that name calling is actually pretty much half calling my child that name, and I don't want to do that. I don't want to put my kids through that. So, yeah, I think that's all I have to say about that first issue, so let's move on. This next issue I'm probably going to get a lot of grief for, because I have a lot of, I guess, personal standings towards it, maybe because I am a father, but it has to do with transgenderism, and how I believe it's more of a mental disorder that we need to treat in people more than it's something that we just have to enable and accept, right? But I'll get more into that later. First, I just want to break it down on things that we've all seen coming, and now that they're coming to light, it's starting to make a lot of people angry. First one here is, I want to get both sides of the story, so I first grabbed the left-leaning website. CBC is obviously, they're funded directly by the Liberal government, $500 million subsidies or whatever. So this is going to be more left-leaning. You know, it's going to be more in favor of transgenders than against. And I want to get this view first before I go into the other view, right? So, across the globe, transgender athletes are breaking barriers in high school. And they're beating, like, you'll have a transgender woman who used to be a man at one point. So that means they have greater muscle mass genetically. Like, most of their lives, they're producing more testosterone, right? Like, so they're gonna have naturally more muscle. Like, that's what testosterone does on the body, is it creates muscle mass. And I just don't think that's fair, right? Because, like a man, like, running against a bunch of women. I know I don't want to sound sexist or anything like that, but, like, look at the times for Olympic runners. Like, compare the men's and the women's. I'm pretty sure that the men beat the women by a couple seconds just because they naturally have more muscle mass and are naturally faster that way, right? So it's not really fair for these people who used to be men now competing with a bunch of women and blowing them away in all these competitions. It just doesn't make sense to me. Yeah, and the Liberals' view from it is that they feel like this is a step forward of us just allowing people to do what they want, right? But, like, we got to look at the facts here too. Like, we can't just go on people's emotions. I get that these people want to feel accepted in the world, and they want to just be like everyone else, but when it comes to stuff like this, we have to make sure it's fair across the board for everyone. Like, it may not be fair to exclude transgender women who used to be men from competing with other women, but across the board, it's going to be fair for not only the women, but for also the other men that can't compete against other women. If you get what I mean. I also have a little video here from ABC News about one that kind of really makes me a little aggravated. I'll play it here.
High school runners, well, they're kicking up dust for breaking news.
Oh shoot, sorry about that.
Two transgender high school runners, well, they're kicking up dust in Connecticut, taking the top spots at the state girls championship, leaving parents wondering if they have an unfair advantage. Lindsay Davis is here, and you sat down with the track star to talk all about this.
That's right, Michael. We're talking about a subject that's so sensitive that Andrea and Terry, who you're about to meet, felt when it was time to tell their parents that they're transgender, they each revealed it by text, and now they have gone public with it, and they're facing opposition from people who say, even though you may feel like a girl, you need to compete against the boys. Terry Miller and Andrea Yearwood dominating the competition at the girls' track and field champ.
See, like, that right there, if they're dominating the competition, we obviously know that there's some sort of, like, unfairity to this. Like, obviously, like, big surprise, the two guys that joined in this marathon race or whatever it was are the ones that blow away the competition. Go figure.
Championships in Connecticut earlier this month, coming in first and second place respectively.
First and second.
The kid taking the top spots at the state.
Andrea Yearwood and coming in first and second place respectively.
Yeah, they came in first and second place. The two transgender women that used to be men but now identify as women. And they both got first and second against all these other women. Imagine how you would be as a naturally born woman trying to compete in something as competitive as this and doing really well, getting normally second place, and now you're getting fourth place because two men decide to jump into your competition. Do you think that's fair at all? I don't think so.
And while it was a state race, their wins are making national headlines. Not because of what they did, but because of who they are.
And right here, U.S. students' parents outrage after transgender teen sprinter breaks records. Like, they're breaking records because they're not meant for this division. They're meant to be competing against other men. Like, why can't we compare their speeds to the men's speeds, right? Just because if they feel like they're a woman? When do we start basing actual, like, science and, like, stuff like that's... Sorry, let me regather my thoughts. When do we start basing this stuff off of emotions, right? Like, shouldn't we be basing it off, like, the facts that we know? Like, these guys have more toned legs, probably, than all these women. Anyways, I'm gonna keep playing the video.
Transgender girls. When was the first time that either of you found any kind of opposition to you participating on the girls' team?
I was expecting it, so every day I go home, there's a track and field high school, Terry Miller.
Because you wanted to know what people were saying.
So he went home from school every day searching it up. He knew he was causing a shitstorm. Sorry. They knew that they were causing a shitstorm. They knew that this was going to cause a huge issue. And they did anyways because fuck the system. You know, I'm allowed to do this and I will be accepted for it. If anyone speaks up against it, it's going to be hate speech.
Yeah.
Some of those comments were harsh. Critics complaining that Andrea and Terry both have an unfair advantage since they were born boys. At what point do you decide, actually, it's...
Of course they have an unfair advantage. Just look at them. Like, they're way more built than the girls that are on that team. Or in that race.
more appropriate for me to be on the girls' team and competing with other girls?
I decided that the summer before 9th grade.
They've both started hormone therapy and say that for the most part they've been welcomed by friends, family, coaches, and administrators with open arms. But there is some backlash from parents and students.
It's not that we don't want to accept you. We just don't want to put you in a position where it's going to be unfair for others, right? Like, everyone's accepting of this. And that's kind of the problem, is because the more we accept it, the more we enable it, the more that they push for these boundaries to be extended, right?
2 petitions were even started in an attempt to change the current rule of the state's governing body of interscholastic sports.
So they want to change the actual precedence on what we base this on, which is stupid. Like, it's the stupidest thing I heard of. Like, why would we change this just on a minority group? Like, we base our precedents and laws mostly on the majority, I thought.
The rule states that students are entitled to participate on a team based on their gender identity, how they identify.
And that's the problem, is because we have to stop looking at this gender identity thing and start looking at what determines sex, which is mostly the genotype. And I'm going to get into that a little bit later when I start talking about the science behind this.
Identify.
The girls athletes are at the physical disadvantage compared to the transgender female.
Bianca Stanescu started one of those petitions after her daughter Selena lost to Andrea and Terry at a track meet in May.
And this is exactly what I'm talking about. This girl probably had a great chance to go on to provincials and more competitive competitions, but she dropped 2 places because 2 trans women, men, or whatever, decided to join this competition. And that's not fair. It's not fair to her or any of the other girls.
They have naturally testosterone within their body that has been proven to give.
Well, that's where she's kind of ill-informed, because both men and women have testosterone in their bodies. It's just men produce it a lot more because they have testicles, and that's where it's produced, is in the testicles.
A physical advantage in sports.
The mom, who was unaware that the girls were already undergoing hormone therapy, has gotten a little over 100 signatures. Medical science tells us that estrogen hormone therapy does change the body, replacing some lean muscle with fat.
So estrogen may replace a little bit of this lean muscle with fat, but there's going to be a lot of this defined muscle that's already been built, right? Like, they've gone through puberty. They started this in grade 9, so they've already gone through puberty. they might not have finished puberty, but like they've still got that initial growth of mass on their legs and their chest and their arms. Like you can see these people are pretty well built. Oh, whoops.
As a father,
It's different. Andrea's parents say, what?
And I don't want to be rude or anything, but like that is totally a guy in long hair. Like it doesn't even look like a female. It looks like a male with long hair who shaved his mustache.
Most important to them is the well-being of their child.
track is number 100 on my list of concerns as a father of a transgender daughter. I'm talking about.
Well, then why do you enlist them in track and field? Why are you trying to set this unfair advantage, right? Like, do you feel proud knowing that your kids are unfairly, like, disproportionating women in athletic events? Like, what the heck is wrong with you?
Raising a child for life. And so is it fair that that child is excluded?
Is it fair that these other girls who tried just as hard but don't have the genetic, like, build that your kids do? Is that fair that they just get kicked to the curb because of this fucking genetic anomaly that they have?
Child doesn't feel like they have a place to belong.
It allows her to be who she wants.
They can belong in society. You can't just compete with other girls. Like, if you, why wouldn't they want to compete against other guys, right? Because wouldn't they feel better competing against other, like, won't they want to push the boundaries of what they can do?
Wants to be, and I think that has a little bit more weight than just winning a medal.
The rules.
Yeah, but this determines more than just winning a medal. What if these people end up going to the Olympics, right? Do you think other countries are going to be happy knowing that we have pretty much men competing as women against their men, or I mean against their women from other countries? They're probably going to call bullshit and probably going to, like, not going to stand for it at all. Like, if I was from another country and thought that these people had an unfair advantage because they had men competing in the women's division, I would probably say something too.
Vary from state to state. In 7 states, including Texas, students must play on the team that matches their birth certificate or have undergone surgery.
And that is where it should be, right? Because if your birth at, like, your sex at birth is what determines, like, what your genotype. You might have a phenotype that's a bit feminine, but, like, I don't know. Men and women have distinctions between themselves, between each other.
Or have had extended hormone therapy, while the NCAA requires the completion of 1 year of testosterone suppression.
So just 1 year of testosterone suppression? 1 year of just not getting testosterone is not really going to make much of a difference. You're still going to have that initial mass that you accumulated over your entire life, especially if you've already gone through a bit of puberty.
Research cannot really identify the line where a competitive advantage might exist for trans athletes of either gender. What do you want to say to other transgender youth, young people, teens who are out there really struggling through this process?
Just follow your heart. Don't let other people determine what you do in life.
Let's just
Follow your heart. Son, it doesn't sound like you have a heart. Like, this is completely unfair. You have a huge advantage against these women, and you're taking advantage of the entire situation. Like, where is your heart?
play devil's advocate for a moment and just imagine that you were both born girls, and then all of a sudden you had 2 boys who identified as being girls, and they said, hey, we're going to be on your team, and maybe now you're not performing as well because they are better.
I'm not going to discourage you or try to say, oh, it's not fair. And it was just pushing me to run faster.
Yeah, because you know that you're a man, and it's like you'd be against another man, so that would be an equal competition for you. What you're doing now is not equal.
I'd be happy for them because they get to do what they want. They're happy.
Only because you're also getting to do what you want.
So they're trying to make me happy. And they're brave. They're just different from everybody.
Alright, well, that's all I really have to say about this subject. Or about the YouTube video anyways. There was another incident I wanted to get into as well, where a girl was in the change room and she felt violated because she had a transgender person staring at her while she was changing. And this is one of the other issues I have a big problem with, is that how do we distinguish a real transgender from some pervert who just, I don't know, says they're transgender and now gets to look at all the naked women in the change room. Like, is that really fair for all those women who have rights to be like free from that type of like sexual harassment? Like, is that fair to them? I don't think so.
It was the second week of school. It was first period, and I had gym class. And I walked in with all my friends, and while I was putting on my pants, I heard a man's voice. So I turned around and...
She heard a man's voice. Like, that right there tells you that this guy hasn't fully gone through the transition period, and so why is he in this bathroom to begin with?
He's standing there on the opposite aisle, looking at me. I glanced down, and I could tell that he was wearing women's underwear and what was underneath it.
So she could see his genitals, and I'm guessing that they're male genitals. So not only is he sexually harassing her in this space that she's supposed to feel safe and have privacy, he's also exposing himself to her, right? Like, she seems like a really young girl. I doubt she wanted to see some random dude's penis when she walked into the women's change room.
I knew that a man was looking at me. I felt very violated. And
of course you feel violated. Women are supposed to feel safe. That's like one of the places women are supposed to feel safe is in the washroom. Why do you think they all go there together?
very scared, especially looking at me while I'm getting dressed.
Sorry, here, let me move my webcam here. Just because so everyone can see what is being said.
The reason we have separate bathroom and locker room facilities is to provide an area for individuals to dress and undress outside of the presence of somebody of the opposite sex.
Exactly.
Opening up restrooms.
The thing that I have a problem with is, like, well, why don't these transgender people have like some sort of private stall where they can change in? Like you are not fully a man because you say you're not, and you're not a woman because you have a penis, so you really technically don't really belong in either of the bathrooms until you make the full transition and chop that penis off or whatever you're gonna do.
And locker room facilities to members of the opposite sex is sexual harassment.
And that's exactly what I was saying, is this woman is being sexually harassed.
Like most forms of sexual harassment, the girls in this school have little power over their situation.
Even more so in this type of situation where if a girl is being sexually harassed in the hallways and she goes to the change room to try and get away from it, now she can't even get away from it there because there's people that are boys that can go in there as well.
The only solution for my client was for her to wait outside the locker room until the individual of the opposite sex was finished changing.
And that is fucking bullshit. She's the normal one here. She's the one that belongs in that change room. Why is she the one that has to wait until after to go and change, right? And not this person who's wearing women's underwear and they have a penis, which seems really messed up to me.
Then she went in and was late for gym class and also late for her second period class.
So not only is it singling her out and creating discrepancies for her, it's hurting her academically. She's missing periods, she's missing class because she has to wait for this transgender person to be done changing.
The school's offered solution made it clear that they believed that my client was the problem.
And that's what it is with most cases. Anytime anyone has anything to say against these types of things, it's automatically labeled as a hate speech. And it's not, right? Like, why don't we start looking at it the other way, right? These people are mentally ill. They have some sort of chemical imbalance in their brain, or maybe a genetic deformity that's causing them to think that they're the opposite sex. I'm going to get more into that after.
I think any father wouldn't want their child to be exposed to anything, especially at such a young age.
Yeah, me personally being a father, I have a 6-year-old daughter, and if something like that were to happen to her, like, I know it might be too young for it to happen at her age, but still, like, even when she's older in high school, I'm going to be worried about this type of stuff.
My daughter does not consent to being seen by or to see someone of the opposite sex in her locker room.
Women have fought long and hard for privacy rights under Title IX, for equality, for equal access and education.
And that's the problem with this. It seems like we're going backwards with equality. We're giving these extra rights to people that have mental disorders.
And now we are telling these girls that they no longer have a voice. The privacy rights of these girls don't change based on what a male believes about their gender. Their privacy rights belong to them, and it is the school's duty.
That's the thing about these privacy rights, is these are inherent rights that are given to everyone from birth, right? It doesn't matter what you feel about yourself. Your personal feelings and stuff like that can't overrule someone's inherent rights to privacy.
To protect those girls' privacy rights.
And thank God a complaint was formed, because it's crazy. Like, this should not have happened at all. This shouldn't be an issue. And the fact that people are trying to defend the transgenders in this situation is appalling. But let's talk a little bit more on why I feel this way and the hapless claims from the other side that don't really make any sense. Here's an article from Live Science on how they think that being transgender has nothing to do with hormonal imbalance at all. It looks very credible. Like, I like Live Science and stuff like that. I usually go through them for a lot of stuff. But if you're reading the actual article here, it's talks about how they did a study on, and they call it the Journal of Adolescent Health, where they published how the wrong hormones floating around was proven to be wrong and had nothing to do with hormones at all. But on further investigation, trying to read this actual article, it cannot be found anymore. So does that mean that this article had no credibility and was deleted? Or is it being revised? I do not know. But all I know is that this article, which they base this entire study on, is no longer even available to the public to read anymore. And that to me seems a bit fishy. Now I'm going to go a little bit into the science on what I know on the endocrine system and the nervous system, on how they affect hormones and how these hormone affections can kind of maybe change the way that you think and maybe make you think that you're the opposite sex. First, we're going to talk about the pituitary gland, which is it's part of the nervous system, but it's the part of the nervous system that acts on the endocrine system. It pretty much the part of the brain that tells the endocrine system what to do. It acts on all the hormones in the body, tells them when they should be released, how much, stuff like that. So main ones it affects are adrenal glands, thyroid glands, ovaries, and testes. And the ovaries and the testes, that's the big one there. This is where your sexual hormones are produced. Like, the ovaries are where your estrogen and progesterone are produced, and the testes are where testosterone is produced. And this is what distinguishes us between men and women. Testosterone, everyone knows it leads to increase, and another hormone, it acts with testosterone to increase facial body hair in men, and increase muscle mass, and increase sexual drive and aggressiveness as well. And then the female hormones, estrogen, progesterone, there's LSH and lutein hormone. These all help with sexual reproduction, getting the uterus ready for a baby. It acts on the oxytocin, which enables the mom to produce breast milk for the baby. There's a bunch of other effects that estrogen and progesterone have on the body. But basically, these hormones are what distinguish us between men and women. Like, the estrogen ones can make you more emotional. They can make you grow breasts even if you aren't a female. So this is a really big thing. Like, if you have a problem with your pituitary gland where it has a tumor or an abnormality or a growth or something, it could be causing your hormones to fluctuate, right? And that's the problem that I have with this gender dysphoria, and how we should not enable it, and we should be treating these people. Because if there is an underlying issue neurologically or with the endocrine system that is affecting them and causing this, changing their sex and giving them sex hormones is not going to help. It's only going to hurt them further down the road, especially if we find out that there's a tumor on the pituitary gland or some sort of tumor in the testes or in the ovaries or something like that. Like, we really need to do more research into this and stop looking at people's feelings and start looking at the facts of the situation. Like, I've heard so many different crazy theories. The craziest one is that, animals change sex, and that they're not always the sex that they're born with, and that they'll change in certain situations. But the part they tend to leave out about that situation is they do it as a matter of survival, right? A lot of lizards, when they can't find a mate, they can produce asexually. And I think some plants, if like they can't find some way to pollinate, then one of the plants will turn into a male and pollinate the other ones around it. It's not because they feel that they're the other sex, or they feel this or feel that. It's basically a matter of instinct and survival to produce offspring, and that's all it is. Yeah, I don't know. I think that's all I really want to say about that subject right now. That's probably where I'm gonna get most of my grief on this entire video, is on the transgender and gender dysphoria. I just hope no one feels like I'm being transphobic, because I'm not. I just want to help these people. I don't think that we should enable them and just accept them for who they are. We need to study what the hell is going on, study the endocrine system, study the nervous system more, so we can better understand these conditions. Alright, so the last topic I wanted to talk to you guys about was the shooting that happened recently in New Zealand, and why it's kind of irking me. 49 innocent people died because some nationalist or extremist decided that he was going to be influenced by memes on the internet. I think that was what I seen, is that he was on Reddit all the time, and that he was inspired to do this shooting because of memes, and because he's a white supremacist and he thinks that he should kill these people. And the thing that's bugging me about it is that there's so many people trying to discredit this shooting and bring up other incidents that are happening around the world. Like, since when are we trying to one-up people on death and destruction and murder? Like, that doesn't make sense to me. Like, you may not like people for their religious beliefs, but you can't just ignorantly hate people and not understand the situation. Most people haven't even read any of the Quran. I can't say I've read it all. I like to keep an open mind, though. I am not religious myself. I am more of an agnostic. So I don't side with the Christians. I don't side with the Muslims. But I do understand both religions, and they're really similar if you look into this. Actually look into it. Like, they have the same prophets. If you look into the Islamic religion, they accept David and Moses and Jesus as prophets. And the Quran itself was given to Muhammad by Gabriel the angel. They call him Jabal in Islamic religion, but he's pretty much Gabriel the angel, who is one of God's right-hand people. So it's really funny for Christians and Muslims to be hating on each other so much when their religion, down at its core essence, is basically the same thing. And like, the story was just horrible. 2 mosques, 49 people dead, just like that. Innocent people. Say what you want about the killings in Nigeria and stuff like that, but talk about it after, right? Like, don't try and discredit this shooting because of some other atrocity that happened halfway across the globe. The one thing is that this happened in New Zealand, where these types of things never happened. Secondly, it happened in a place of worship, a place where these religious people should feel safe and secure, because they should be able to practice religion as they please. The other thing else I have to say about this is people don't really understand basic math when it comes to this issue. Is that there's 1.6 billion Muslims in the world, and let's see if I can find it here. See, this is one of the things that was pissing me off, is they're trying to discredit 50 people dying here because 120 people were killed in Nigeria by the same type. Like, they're both terrorists. Like, you even state that in your meme yourself, that they're both terrorists. Like, this should be a non-issue. These should just both be two tragedies that are horrible events. It shouldn't be one is more important than the other and one is discredited because of something else, because more people died somewhere else. They're both horrible. They're both awful. The thing I wanted to get into here is this PDF document where it talks about extremisms versus radicals versus moderates in the Muslim community, right? And that they found that the radical group represents about 7% of the total population across 10 countries in the study, ranging from a high of 26% of people in Egypt to a low of 1% in Morocco. So 7%. So there's 1.6 billion Muslims in the world. Let's just do a little math here. 1.6 million, 16 million, 160, 1.6 billion right there. Times it by 0.07 or 7%. That's 112 million people. So even though that 7% seems really small and people don't believe it, if you actually look at the numbers, it makes a lot of sense, right? Like 112 million people, that's more than the entire population of Canada. That's more than double the entire population of Canada. Now imagine if there was entire population of Canada was all radicals. Just think about that for 1 second, and then double that. And then it's even more than that still. That doesn't mean that every Muslim you come across is going to be a radical Muslim, but it means that in these certain areas where dictatorships have taken over, there's going to be a lot of them that are radical, because that's all they've ever known is this radical extremist life. Why do you think so many of them are flooding out of the country and trying to come here? Not because they're all terrorists trying to take over the world, but because the ones that are peaceful want to practice religion in peace and not have to be burned in cages and stoned to death and horrible things like that just because they disagree with one part of their religion. So I hope that people take this in, especially this number here. Like, this blows my mind, right? 112 million radicals out of 1.6 billion. So it's only 7% of the entire Muslim population, but that 7% is still 3 times the entire population of Canada. So yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say about stuff today. Like, subscribe if you want, if you liked it. I might do another one in a week. We'll see how this goes. Just playing everything by ear. So yeah, thank you guys for listening. Have a great day.
From the fire she breathes, horns like a devil, pointed at me, she got
2 little horns and they give me a